Hey guys, welcome back. So today we will review simplifying expressions with exponents. Let's look at some true and false questions first. So let's look at this question here. 3 to the 4th times 3 to the 6th equals 9 to the 10th. Is this true or false? This is false. 3 to the 4th times 3 to the 6th is going to equal 3 to the 10th. Your base stays the same and your exponents you're going to add 4 plus 6 is going to give you 10. So this answer is false. So let's try this example here. 7 to the 9th divided by 7 to the 5th equals 7 to the 4th power. Is this true or false? And this is true. If we have 7 to the 9th divided by 7 to the 5th, I'm dividing with the same base. I'm going to subtract my exponents. So this is going to be 7, 9 minus 5. This is going to equal 7 to the 4th power. So this is true. And let's try this one. X over 3 raised to the 2nd power equals x squared over 9. Is this true or false? This is true. If I have x over 3 raised to the 2nd power, this equals x squared over 3 squared, which is going to give me 9. So x squared over 9. So this question here is true. So let's look at this expression. We have 2 to the 3rd times 2 to the 2nd power. My bases are the same, so I'm going to add my exponent. So this is going to turn into 2, 3 plus 2. This is going to give me 5, so 2 to the 5th power. Your final answer is 2 to the 5th power. 5 to the 2nd times 5 to the 4th power. My bases are the same, so I'm going to add my exponents. So this is going to be 5, 2 plus 4. This is going to equal 5 to the 6th power, and this is my final answer here. Negative 2 to the 3rd power times negative 2. My base here is negative 2, so my base will stay the same, and I'm going to add my exponents, 3 plus 1. This is going to equal negative 2 to the 4th power, which equals 16. This is a similar problem. If I had negative 2 to the 2nd power times negative 2 to the 3rd power, my base is the same, so I'm going to add my exponent. So you're going to get negative 2, 2 plus 3. This is going to give you negative 2 to the 5th power, which simplifies to negative 32. What about negative 2 to the 4th times 2? Notice here I have a negative 2 and a 2. Because I have this negative 2 out here, I can pull out this negative 1 and put it out in the front and just leave it alone for now. So then I have negative 1, 2 to the 4th times 2. Now my bases are the same. I can go ahead and add my exponents. So I'm going to leave this negative 1 alone for now. And I have 2 to the 4th power plus 1, which is going to equal negative 1 times 2 to the 5th power. So we have our negative 1 here. 2 to the 5th power is 32. So if I do negative 1 times 32, this is going to give me a negative 32. So your final answer is negative 32. What about 3 to the 4th, all raised to the 5th power? If I have a power raised to a power, I'm going to multiply my exponents. So this is going to turn into 3, 4 times 5. And 4 times 5 is 20. So this is going to turn into 3 to the 20th power. Same thing if you had 2 to the 3rd raised to the 2nd power. Power raised to a power, I'm going to multiply my exponents. So this is going to turn into 2, 3 times 2. And this is going to be 2 to the 6th power. What about if I had bracket, parentheses, negative 6 raised to the 8th power and bracket raised to the power of 2. So we're going to be doing the same thing here. You have a power raised to a power, so I'm going to multiply my exponents. This is going to turn into negative 6, 8 times 2. 8 times 2 is 16, so you're going to get negative 6 raised to the 16th power. What if I had my negative on the outside? Let's say we had 6 on the inside raised to the 8th power, both raised to the 2nd power. So I'm going to pull out my negative 1 since it's on the outside, times 6, 8 times 2. This is going to equal negative 1. times 6 to the 16th power. So negative 1 times 6 to the 16th power is going to equal negative 6 to the 16th power. What about 8 to the second raised to the 0 power? Remember, anything raised to the 0 power is going to equal 1. However, this is going to equal 2 times 0, and 2 times 0 is going to give us 0. So this is going to be 8 to the 0 power, which equals 1. What about this example here? I have z to the power of 5 raised to the 0 power. This also is going to equal 1. This is going to equal z 5 times 0. 5 times 0 is going to give me 0. So z to the 0 power equals 1. Negative 3x raised to the power of 4. This is going to equal negative 3 to the 4th power times x to the 4th power. Negative 3 to the 4th is going to give me 81 times x to the 4th. 81 times x to the 4th is going to give me 81x to the 4th. Similar example here, we have 3xy raised to the power of 3. This is going to equal 3 to the 3rd times x to the 3rd times y to the 3rd. 3 to the 3rd is going to give me 27 times x to the 3rd times y to the 3rd. And 27 times x cubed times y cubed is going to be 27 x cubed y cubed. All right, let's try this example here. Remember, anything raised to the 0 power is going to equal 1, but we're going to show our work. So this is going to equal 2 to the 0 power times x 3 times 0. 2 to the 0 power is going to give me 1 times x to the 0 power, because 3 times 0 is 0. And then you have 1 times x to the 0, which is going to give me 1. So 1 times 1 is 1. What about 3 to the 0 power? This is also going to equal 1. What if you had negative 3 to the 0 power? This is going to equal negative 1. We're going to bring out this negative 1 on the outside. So you have negative 1 times 3 to the 0. So you have negative 1 times 3 to the 0 equals 1. So negative 1 times 1 equals negative 1. What if you had 2 to the 10 over 2 to the 3rd? I'm dividing with the same base so I can subtract my exponents. So this is going to equal 2, 10 minus 3. So you're going to get 2 to the 7th power, which equals 128. What about 4 to the 3rd divided by 4? My bases are the same, so I'm going to subtract my exponent. So this is going to equal 4, 3 minus 1. 3 minus 1 is going to give you 2, so you're going to get 4 to the 2nd power, which equals 16. Y to the 5th over y to the 4th. Bases are the same, so I'm going to subtract my exponent. This is going to equal y 5 minus 4. 5 minus 4 is 1, so you're going to get y to the 1st power, which equals y. 5 to the 4th over 5 to the 10th. This is going to equal, because I'm dividing with the same base, you're going to get 5, 4 minus 10. This is going to equal 5 to the negative 6th power. And since I do have a negative exponent, I need to make that positive. So this is going to equal 1 over 5 to the 6th power. And remember, you can do this another way as well. You can just do 5 to the 4th over 5 to the 10th. You can just go ahead and bring your 4 down to your denominator since this number is larger. So you can do 1 over 5 to the 10th minus 4, and this is going to give you 1 over 5 to the 6th. You do get the same answer. 6 to the 8th divided by 6 to the 9th. We're going to subtract 6, 8 minus 9. This is going to give us 6 to the negative 1 power. Because I now have a negative exponent, I'm going to bring that down to my denominator to make it positive. So this is going to equal 1 over 6 to the 1st power, which equals 1 over 6. And the other way, if you did it the other way, 6 to the 8th over 6 to the 9th, you can go ahead and just bring your numerator down to your denominator. So this is going to equal 1 over 6 to the 9th minus 8, which equals 1 over 6 to the first power, which equals 1 over 6. What about x squared over x to the ninth? We're going to do the same thing. We're dividing with the same base, so I'm going to subtract my exponent. So this is going to be x2 minus 9, which equals x to the negative 7th power. And I have a negative exponent. I'm going to bring this down to my denominator, which is going to equal 1 over x to the 7th. All right, and let's quickly try the other way. So we have x over x, 2 and 9. So you're going to do 1 over x, 9 minus 2, which is going to equal 1 over x to the 7th. What about 3 over 5 raised to the 2nd power? So this is going to equal 3 to the 2nd over 5 to the 2nd. 3 to the 2nd is 9. 5 to the 2nd is 25. And I cannot simplify any further, so your final answer is 9 over 25. What about 1 over 2 raised to the 4th power? This is going to equal 1 to the 4th divided by 2 to the 4th. 1 to the 4th power equals 1, and 2 to the 4th is going to give us 16. Since I cannot simplify any further, my final answer is 1 over 16. What about x over negative 3 raised to the 2nd power? This is going to equal x to the 2nd divided by negative 3 to the 2nd. This is going to equal x to the 2nd over negative 3 squared is going to give me a positive 9. Since I cannot simplify any further, my final answer is x to the 2nd over 9. All right, let's try this example here. So this is going to equal x to the 2nd over 5 to the 2nd times y to the 2nd. So on top, our numerator is going to stay the same. That's going to equal x squared. 5 squared is going to give me 25 times y squared. And my numerator is still staying the same. So that's x squared over 25y squared. So this is your final answer. Let's try this example here. So this is going to equal my numerator. I'm going to get x 3 times 2 over negative 3 to the 2nd power times y to the 2nd power. My numerator, you're going to get x to the 6th power over negative 3 squared is going to give me a positive 9 times y to the 2nd. So we're going to get x to the 6th over 9y squared. Okay, let's try this example here. This is going to give me 3 to the 2nd power times x 2 times 2 over 5 to the 2nd power times y 4 times 2. 3 squared, which is here, is going to give me 9 times x. 2 times 2 is going to give me 4 over 5 squared, which is going to give me 25 times y. 4 times 2 is going to give me 8. So my numerator, you're going to get 9x to the 4th over 25y to the 8th. Let's try 24x to the 6th power times y squared over 15y to the 9th power. So first thing I notice here, I can simplify my 24 and my 15 into 8 over 5. 24 divided by 3 is going to give you 8. And then if you do 15 divided by 3, that's going to give you 5. So now let's move on to x to the 6th power. I'm going to write x to the 6th power here. And then you have y2 minus 9 because I'm dividing with the same base. So I'm going to subtract my exponents. So you're going to get 8 over 5 x to the 6th. And 2 minus 9 is going to give you y to the negative 7th power. And I now have a negative exponent, so I'm going to bring it down to my denominator to make it positive. So I have 8x to the 6th over 5y to the 7th power. And this is your final answer. What about 5x times x to the 7th over, let's do x squared. So first, let's go ahead and separate our numerator. So we're going to get 5 times x to the 7th over x squared. And since I am multiplying by the same base, I'm going to add my exponent. So my numerator is going to be 5 times x, 1 plus 7 over x squared. You're going to get 5 times x to the 8th over x squared. And notice now I am dividing with the same base. I'm going to subtract my exponent. So this is going to equal 5 times x, 8 minus 2, which is going to equal 5 times x to the 6th power, which is going to equal 5x to the 6th power. What if you had x to the negative 1 power over y to the negative 1? I have negative exponents, so this is going to equal x to the first power in my denominator and y to the first power in my numerator. And this simplifies to y over x. Let's try this example here. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to simplify this negative 2 to the 3rd power. This is going to give me a negative 8. And then we have x to the 4th. I'm going to write my x to the 4th. And then we have yz raised to the 2nd power. So I'm going to bring this 2 to the y and this 2 to the z. So this is going to be y to the 2nd power times z to the 2nd power. Over, you're going to get 3 squared. This is going to give you 9 times x, y cubed, z to the 4th. And I'm dividing with the same base, so I'm going to subtract my exponents. So I have x over here. This is going to become x 4 minus 1. And then for the y, we're going to get y 2 minus 3. And then for z, you're going to get z 2 minus 4. So now we're going to simplify. So 8 over 9 x to the 3rd power, because we did 4 minus 1. You're going to get y 2 minus 3 is going to give you y to the negative 1st power. And then you have z 2 minus 4 is going to be z to the negative 2nd power. Now I have negative exponents, so I'm going to bring those down to my denominator to make them positive. So we're going to get negative 8 over 9x cubed y to the 1st power, and then z to the 2nd power. And the only thing I do need to simplify is this y to the 1st power here. So you're going to get negative 8x cubed over 9yz squared. And this is your final answer. All right, so let's try this example here. So notice I do have negative exponents, so I'm going to bring those down to my denominator. So my numerator is going to be z over x to the 1st power times y to the 2nd power times x squared times y times z cubed. Since I am dividing with the same base, I'm going to subtract my exponents. So this is going to be z1 minus 3 over, and here I am multiplying with the same base, so I'm going to add my exponents in my denominator. So we're going to get x1 plus 2 times y2 plus 1. Your numerator, you're going to get z to the negative 2nd power over x cubed times y cubed. And since I have my negative exponent here, I'm going to bring that down to my denominator. So this is going to be 1 over x cubed times y cubed times z to the 2nd power. And this is your final answer here. So let's look at this example here. Notice that my entire expression is raised to the negative 2nd power. So if I need to make this positive, this is going to equal 4y negative 1 over 3x negative 1 raised to the 2nd power. And now I'm going to simplify. So this is going to equal 4 squared times y negative 1 times 2 over 3 squared times x negative 1 times 2. 4 squared is going to, let's move up here. 4 squared is going to give me 16 times y negative 1 times 2 is going to give me a negative 2. divided by 3 squared is 9 times x. Negative 1 times 2 will also give me a negative 2. And since I have negative exponents, so this is going to be 16 times x squared over 9 times y squared. In your numerator, you're going to get 16x squared over 9y squared. And this is your final answer. All right, so that is all for today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.